welcome to the next ReeVlog. You can see the lovely mess of my desk and everything, how rare. Usually, at this current point in my day, I probably have my little red light on, but I'm using that as a rest for the phone, so as I don't want to cook my phone, I'm not going to have that today. So, why am I vlogging for the third time in 2 days? It's quite simple, really. I have a couple fitness things that I wanted to discuss. I was thinking about them whilst I was doing some exercise earlier, and then whilst I was in the shower just now. So, numero uno is the common one of I've not been to the gym in a little while now. It's been very difficult to attempt to go at work due to how busy it's been, and also the new scheduling means that it's more likely to encounter a colleague, because there's one where we patrol the area now. If a colleague finds me there, I might get in trouble. It's unlikely, but it's possible. And then the other one, in theory I could go to, but again it's that matter of being busy, and then if I do go, it'll be for 40 minutes. What am I doing during that 40 minutes if someone's on the piece of equipment I want to use for that 40 minutes? Whereas I might be better off just getting a little bit more rest, or the other day on my break I sewed up one of my ankle weights. I've got 1/2 kilo, 1 kilo and 3 kilo ankle weights, or wrist weights, the ones you strap around. 1/2 kilo ones, one of the straps had broken off, so I sewed that back together again on my break instead, which reminds me I need to try and remember to take some thread to leave in the car because I've ran out. I've got the needle, just no thread. That reminds me, the needle I think is currently stuck into the passenger seat. I should probably remove that before I have any passengers. Anyway, with that and the fact I've not really been going on my days off work, largely due to being busy and then wanting to save on fuel because it's not cheap. I'm not currently comfortable biking to and from the gym, as well as training hard at the gym, given the whole fatigue thing. I don't want to go to the gym, train hard at the gym, and then be like, oh, it's going to be such a pain to go home, and then spend like 2 hours getting home when it should really only take like 25-30 minutes as a rough estimate on my bike. The other point is, I've got plenty of equipment here, more than enough to train my strength and endurance, and I'm not even focusing on that too much at the moment because currently I'm doing rehab work, which is even lighter. So most of that work is with my resistance bands, which I'm lucky enough to have attachment points on the wall that I can use and rely on. And then I've got my kettlebells. I've got 2 4s, a 6, yeah, a 6, and then a 20. So like, if I'm having a good day, I can get the 20 out, like do some swings or whatever. For lighter work, I've got the 6 and the 4s. Then I've also got dumbbells with various plates that are adjustable. Though I've got enough dumbbells that I've got different sets laid out. Like I've got light dumbbell, heavy dumbbell, very heavy dumbbell. I've got one of those things that you can like turn, and you get like 2 little handles. It's a like peanut shape, and you can etc. Got one of those. I've got my favourite piece of exercise equipment, a big hammer, which I use for my mace work. I've also got my rope skipping rope, which I've started learning rope flow with. Did a little bit yesterday, before the vlog, did a little bit after, when I was going to D&D. I arrived like half an hour early, so I went to a nearby park, and I think, if I remember correctly, because I'm going through the WEC method playlist for it, I've got overhand and underhand figure 8, overhand and underhand matador, and then I just started overhand sneak and haven't got it yet. And it'll take a little bit for me to practice to get these like ingrained. But once I've got that, then that's another practice I can do. I'm taking that rope with me to work. So again, might not be able to go to the gym at work, right? But I could do that, like pull up at any given field. I'm myself and I don't like doing these sort of things whilst representing the company. So if I take like a jacket with me or something that I can just put on over the top of my work shirt, then I can pop that on and then start flowing, you know, which I think is a great movement practice, especially for me at work, because a lot of what I do at work is sit in the car. So straightening my legs, stretching all of the muscles and joints out there, opening up the torso because the seats are not good for me at all. But on top of that, there's like the actual driving element, like looking around, all that jazz, getting back into a more relaxed, less compressed posture would be great for me during my shift. And I think that'll help with work sustainability in at least the short term, because work is definitely going to get more stressful in like a week or two, and we're going to have to see how that goes. But with that said, I'm unlikely to be going to the gym much during work time, and my current needs don't really need the gym. I've started being able to do a little bit of running out and about on the roads, so using the treadmill is less important, which is the one piece of equipment that I can't mimic here. Like the cardio equipment, like the Stairmaster and stuff. I've got stairs. I don't think my neighbours would appreciate me going up and down the stairs a bunch, but that's an option, I suppose. But it was the treadmill mostly that I was like going to the gym for, and then whilst I was there, I would also do some strength work. Yes, they've got the adjustable benches and stuff, so I can do back hyperextensions better there than I could do here, stuff like that. But currently I'm on more basic movements, just trying to rehab myself back to a good basic level. So I'm debating cancelling both my gym memberships, because currently I've got two, one for one chain, one for another chain. And I was going to cancel one, the first one I had, because the one for the other chain, the gym that I got that one to test with, is functionally better. But if I'm not going to be going, I don't want to be paying. And you can get instant access to rejoin. So if I ever change my mind, I'm like, wow, I really want to go to the gym, I can just get a membership for that month, right? Cancel it again, but I'll be able to go that time. Don't know, because rehabbing things takes a while, as I'm sure you're very aware if you've ever had injuries or if you are following my recovery. This elbow has been many years, this knee has been several years, that foot has been a year-ish, my shoulder has been most of this year, if not part of last year. So it is going to take a while, but now that I'm able to do that rehab work more frequently, I think that while is going to be less of an issue for me personally. I think it's going to improve a little bit faster, and so probably not towards the end of this year, but maybe like end of winter, we'll probably be seeing me at a better position, provided my situation doesn't get worse again. At that time, maybe then I'll want to join a gym, right? But until that point, I don't think that I really have much use for one, and plus I would need to make sure that I'd be able to go at a time that I'd be comfortable, so where there isn't too many other people, because I'm not really a huge fan of other people or loud noises. So to do that, I'd have to make sure that my job, if it was still this one, either I'd be able to go during it, or I was in a position where I was like earning enough money that I didn't have to worry about fuel or about going, or where like my cardio, fatigue, etc. was like, yes, I can definitely bike there, and so long as I don't like do legs, I can bike back again. Or if I do legs, I can walk and push my bike back again, or something like that. So yeah, that's point one, is debating cancelling my gym membership. Point two is about my rehab work and whatnot, is I'm starting to incorporate more of the Ben Patrick knees over toes guy stuff. Because one, this is a knee injury that I'm rehabbing, and that's his like whole thing. Yes, he does more than that, but that's like the core foundation of what he knows. Is he's the knees guy, right? Plus, this ankle has a mobility issue where I can't get my knee as far over my toes as I can on the other side. And he's the knees over toes guy, right? So whilst I've been aware of his stuff vaguely for a while, and I've done like the occasional tib raise, walking backwards is something that I try to incorporate when I can. I've started doing just today, so hopefully I'll stick with it, but we'll see. More of his stuff where it's like getting into a partial squat, going knees over toes, and then doing calf raises to promote blood flow through that position, and incorporate that range of strength in some way, right? And I feel like no difference, but it was like an hour ago, and it was one set. So you can't expect great change that quickly, but I'm going to try to remember to keep at it. Maybe if I can do it like a couple times at work, maybe I can do something like it. Like if I go to the loo whilst I brush my teeth, if I go to the loo whilst I wash my hands, I can then like get into that sort of position and start do calf raises whilst washing my hands. Because then I might not be able to fit in a full set of 20, but the volume's going to add up over time at that point. And that'll mean there's lots of time to rest in between, because I don't get that many opportunities to go to the loo at work. So it'll be like every couple hours at most, probably 3 to 4, 5, maybe 6 hours before I then get more time, and so that'd be good, as long as my feet don't ache too much, because I've got a lot of walking at work, and sometimes my feet ache a lot, and forcing myself to do that whilst my feet ache might be asking a lot. I think it would help in the long run of making my feet feel better, because I'll be strengthening my feet, which, as I've said before, is sort of my primary objective at the minute, is healing and strengthening my feet to then build up from. And then one last point that I just thought of is something that I saw something on Instagram. Great start to any sentence, but no, I saw something on Instagram about women's fitness, and I agree and disagree with having a distinction, right? Because anything a man can do, a woman can do, especially in the field of movement, right? Women are usually much more mobile than men, which gives them an advantage, whilst men are usually, at base, stronger. But women, in as far as my lived experience goes, I've not looked into research or anything, seem to be more able to gain strength than men are able to gain mobility, which I don't think is like a biological thing. I think it's more it is overall easier to gain strength than it is mobility, because mobility is strength and flexibility combined, and the practices therefore are harder. And most mobility practices don't involve the big muscles, and if they do, it's because you've got a huge lack of mobility, rather than just a sort of like modern day basic mobility, which is constantly going down, but whatever. So I think that like the proprioceptive, there's another word, proprioceptive potentially, feeling of where you are, what you're doing, and which muscles you're using is a little bit more finicky. And once you've already got that mobility, then you can probably feel it. But when you're working towards it, you're like, oh, I really need to activate this tiny bunch of things to help stabilize there, but I don't know how, right? Anyway, that was just a quick tangent about the fact that I said it was women's fitness or whatever. I think that there are differences, but they're not important. This post, can't remember what page it was on or anything like that, but it said that your fitness, strength, conditioning, movement, whatever practices shouldn't be necessarily through determination, right? It should be through devotion. And that resonated with me quite strongly. And I understand that I'm not their target audience, but the sentiment, I think, is one that many people, male or female, boy or girl or other, whatever, I think they can relate to it, or would relate to it if they were in the right frame of mind and had the prerequisite knowledge. Because something I always said to my clients when I was a PT, I'm technically still a PT, just not insured, so I can't do any PTing, was adherence is the number one rule. Yes, you want to do progressive overload. Yes, there's specific adaptations to impose demands. Yes, you've got your goals, and if you did this, this, and this, you would reach them faster. However, you would not continue to do this, this, and this, because this, and this sucks. Doesn't feel good. It's not going to make you happy. It's boring. Yes, you'll get results, but only if you stick with it. And a lot of people will tell themselves, I'm determined to do this thing. I will stick with it. And so they try it, right? Take the One Punch Man challenge, like the 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run every day, right? Some people did it. They stuck with it for a little while. If they were completely sedentary, they started to get injured because they just jumped straight into it. If they were already like athletic, they probably just got bored and stopped, right? If they were athletic, but not super athletic, like your average gym goer, potentially, then they probably did it, and they're like, wow, that was really hard. And they did it a couple more times, like, this is taking loads of time, and I can't do my other training with this, I'm not seeing results, I'm going to do something else. Whereas if they stuck with it, they probably would see results, even if those results weren't, again, catered towards what they wanted. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to stick with it, it's going to be more effective than anything you do that you don't stick with. So, say you wanted to improve your pectoral muscle mass, right? Or chest strength, or whatever. But you hated push-ups and you liked bench press. I would say, cool, just do bench press. Even if your numbers are really low, just do it and do progressive overload. Or you could flip it and say they hated bench press. All right, do push-ups then. And they're like, oh, but push-ups are easy. Like, okay, do weighted push-ups or do one-arm push-ups, push-ups at an angle, etc. You can always find ways to make it harder and increase that tension. And so that's how you get adherence, is you find the exercises people like for their goals, and you get them to do those exercises rather than just saying, look, these are the ones that you do because they work. There's loads of exercises that work, right? Find one that people will stick to. And even if they don't enjoy them, if they don't dislike them as much as others, they're more likely to adhere. And that's sort of where I think devotion is a better motivator than determination. Determination is like a reaction to motivation. It's like, okay, here's this thing that I want, and I will go and get it. Devotion is a cause or a thing you are devoted to, and then that, in this case, would usually be yourself as a whole. If you're taking a holistic view of health, fitness, which I fully do and recommend, you are devoted to yourself, your well-being, your improvement, and therefore that of people around you. With that said, you aren't going. Devotion sort of breeds determination, I suppose, is a way to think about it. I've not sort of put any of these thoughts into words before. So, if you are devoted to yourself, you will act in accordance to that, which means if the way you see yourself improving is increasing your strength, increasing mobility, increasing cardiorespiratory health, whatever, you're going to do the fitness work. If the way you see yourself improving is learning and sort of building knowledge, then you're going to do the research, you're going to read the books, you're going to talk to the experts. Or if you are cross-disciplinary, as it were, you'll do both, which currently is hopefully the position that I'm in. I'm focusing more on this side than this side because I need this side to be able to keep going and getting closer and closer to a point where I can do more of both. So when I get to a point where I can do lots of this, then the tiny amount of this I can do can start increasing as well, because the lots of that will help increase that. But that devotion, it could be to a specific goal, right? In the same way I've been devoted to getting my black belt for a long time, and there are lots of discussions that can be had around devotion, like, is it a sacred or like almost religious, spiritual thing, or is it just like passion, you know? And I'm not here to discuss that, because I think there are definite arguments for both, and depending on context will depend on what is meant by it. And then some people will say, oh, you're not really devoted to that, you're just passionate about it, or, oh, you're not devoted to that, that's faith. Ugh. Keep that argument away from me, at least for now. So, yeah, that devotion is going to be your motivation, your inspiration, a source that you just need to remind yourself of every so often, you know? Sometimes you'll be like, oh, I really don't feel like doing this thing. And all the gym bros, they're like, you're going to do the thing because you're going to do the thing. Like, you want to get swole. It's the most common gym bro thing, right? You want to get bigger biceps, right? It's like, oh, I really don't feel like going to the gym today. I'm tired. I slept terribly. You know, I've not eaten very well. I don't have time to go to the gym after getting food and digesting and stuff, so I'm going to go to the gym and then I'm going to have to get food. I might just go get food and then go home. But instead, one, if you don't have to go to the gym, just work out at home. But if you do go to the gym, which I fully recommend to many people, especially if you want to work on your max strength, because they have the heavy stuff. Or if you like the social aspect, which I don't, but many people do. So many tangents. Where was I? Yes, you could say, they're devoted to getting bigger arms, which is true, but they are framing it to themselves in such a manner of, I'm determined to do this. My grit and determination, my sheer willpower is going to take me to the gym, you know, which I think is far more draining than saying, I've got this goal, even if that goal is for some reason to have bigger biceps, right? It's like, that's going to improve me according to the person who has devoted themselves to getting bigger biceps. And so they now have a choice of to improve me or to not improve me. That's not determination, that's acting in alignment with your goals. And I think that in the example I gave, where they've slept terribly, they feel terrible, they haven't had proper nutrition and stuff, maybe they don't train what they'd normally train. Maybe they do go get food and go home. And if they are like a gym person, once they have gone home, they've ate their food, they've digested, whatever. When they're done that, they then maybe go for a walk. Something they might not normally do, get some fresh air, see some sights they might not normally see, even if they are local ones. The lighting might be different to when they're usually there, everything like that. There's a little bit of novelty to it, probably a bit more nature. Maybe they'll encounter some members of their local community in a different way to how they usually would. Those sorts of things. All primo positive stuff, in my opinion, even if I don't really engage with my own local community very much. And then they've still got a little bit of exercise in, right? It's not going to help their bicep size, but it might help their energy levels the next day. Short walk before bed is usually generally recognised as a good thing to help you with your rest, but also if you've got low energy, going for a short walk can perk you up again, depending on the context. So if they live near their gym, maybe they go home, have something to eat, and think, I'm going to go for a short walk. And whilst they're on their walk, they're like, you know what, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get that workout in because I feel better. But for the most part, as someone who has suffered much lack of sleep in their life, I'd say if you've slept terribly, don't skip working out entirely. Just tone it down, you know. If you were going to go for a PR, don't go for the PR. Instead, just do something lighter, you know. Revert to something else. And there are going to be exceptions for this if that's like your job or whatever. But for the most part, devotion is going to mean listening to your body more, whereas determination is going to be forcing it to do stuff that it might not be in the best position to do. And sometimes you do need to do things when you're not in the best position, you know. Just because you didn't sleep well doesn't mean you don't need to pick up the timber that fell out of the ceiling to land on top of your child. You know, you need to get rid of that to get the child out of the house fire, for example, right? But yeah, the reason that I've brought this up is because I'm, you know, talking about fitness and stuff, but also my yearly theme. I was going for like soft growth or controlled continuation or something along those lines. I couldn't think of a great term for it, but I think I might go with devotion for next year's theme, because I did think of a pretty cool term. I can't remember what it was, but a pretty cool term for next year. I didn't get to a point of writing it down, but when I saw that post I was like, devotion, because with devotion I'm devoted to self-improvement, which means growth, but devotion also implies a level of care, and self-improvement is the self, so it's self-care. So I need self-care along with growth, which means it is controlled growth. So it fits that, and also it encompasses all the other elements of my goals, right? Because it is a year of devotion in general. So spending time with loved ones, making it clear that, you know, I appreciate those people around me, all that stuff. There's another vlog that I want to do, but I don't have time for today because I've got to leave for work in like 35-40 minutes, and I haven't eaten yet, so I need to do that, and I'm not super hungry, so it's probably going to take me a little while. Plus I need to actually get changed, can't really go to work in my Udi, and get my bag ready and all sorts of stuff, but that other vlog that I want to do, and we'll see if I ever do, is on something. Why can't I remember what it is? What was it? What was I talking about just now? Devotion, self-devotion, care. Yes. The being, the accumulation, the amalgamation, the total of these 5 people you surround yourself with. Don't know where the saying came from, but I've heard it before. And how I think that it's actually 6 people, and that 6th person is yourself, your past/present self. When you change, that is factored in. And identifying who those people are around you, what they're like, might help determine the direction you go in the future. And I was going to figure out who those people were for me, talk about that, but I definitely don't have the time. So I'm going to say that I'll catch you cats on the flip-flop.